This line of shower cloud across northern parts of Madagascar, 53 millimetres of rainfall here on Sunday, and it's still raining. That rain stretching its way into northern Mozambique, southern parts of Tanzania, nudging a little further northwards now. These are the seasonal rains, of course, and with those rains edging northwards, it means for much of South Africa, it's fine and dry. There will be some showers, having said that, down towards that southeastern corner. We've got some showers too across the far north of Africa, just leaking their way out of the Mediterranean. Northern areas of Algeria into Tunisia could see some rain, and some wet weather just scraping its way across the far north of Libya. For Cairo, for Egypt, it's dry and it's warm, warmer than it has been recently. Cairo at around 25 Celsius. Now, those showers that we have across central parts of the Mediterranean lining up with the severe storms that we have now making their way through Greece, pushing into Turkey. A lot of wintry weather, some heavy snowfall, around 45 centimetres of snow, a possibility just around the Balkans, right the way across into Romania, into Belarus. It's very wintry across that eastern side of Europe, minus 20 a possibility for Moscow. The milder weather is further west with highs of 8 for London.
Qatar Airways, world's five-star airline.
An uprising on the streets, showing no sign of relenting. Protesters united in their defiance of the regime. As demonstrations continued for a third week, President Mubarak remained unmoved. But how much longer could he ignore the demands of his people and hold on to power? In a day-by-day account, we look at the events that changed Egypt, from those that witnessed them firsthand. Fall of Mubarak, at this time on Al Jazeera.
See the world from every angle and every side. Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. You're watching Al Jazeera. Let's remind you of our top stories now. Anti-government protesters in Libya say they've taken control of the country's second city, Benghazi. Eyewitnesses have told Al Jazeera the cities of Al-Baida and Sebha are also in the hands of protesters. We're getting reports coming in from a Libyan newspaper which says the country's justice minister has resigned in protest at the excessive use of violence against protesters. On our programme a little earlier, a diplomat was saying that the Justice Minister had sided with the protesters. At least 61 people are said to have died in the latest violence in the capital Tripoli on Monday. Witnesses say security forces have started looting banks and other government institutions. We're also getting reports that the People's Convention Hall was set on fire and protesters have been targeting police stations in the capital. Now, in other news, Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh has called for a national dialogue, but he's refusing to step down. A coalition of opposition groups has agreed to talk to him, but protests continue. Nationwide unrest has killed 12 people since Thursday. Hashim Albra reports from the capital, Sana'a.
President Saleh hits out at the opposition. He says they are not genuine about reform and that they are riding the wave of popular discontent to topple the government.
We have offered a package of reforms following calls from the opposition, but unfortunately, after the reforms offer was endorsed by the people, the opposition asked for more concessions, some of which are unacceptable, like the departure of the regime.
The veteran leader offered an explanation to the surge in anti-government protests in his country.
This is a contagious disease alien to our country. It started in Tunisia and then spread to Egypt and now to other countries in the region. It's a fever, a flu. It takes one to sneeze for the other to cough on the spot.
Here in the capital, the students and reform activists are emboldened by the growing support and sympathy for their demands.
This whole area is now under the control of the pro-democracy protesters. They have set up checkpoints everywhere to prevent government loyalists from attacking them. That would just lead to further escalation and violent clashes like we saw during the last few days. Now they're saying that they will hold out, that they will continue their fight for as long as it takes to enforce change.
They say that their uprising is the result of decades of oppression and corruption.
33 years, how can they say a democratic country? And the president on the chair 33 years. I can't believe that.
I finished my graduation, I have no job. Yeah, I speak English, speak French, I speak Czech, I speak Arabic, but until now I couldn't find a job.
A situation of impasse reigns in the country. All sides stick to their positions, and the calls for a national unity government are dismissed by the president, who says that with a prime minister from the opposition, the affairs of the state will crumble in a week. Hashim Al-Barra, AlJazeera, Sana'a.
Okay, to Bahrain now, where mobile clinics have been set up to treat protesters injured in confrontations with security forces. Volunteers and doctors say they're preparing for the possibility of more violence. Scores of people sought medical treatment at the clinics on Monday. 8 people have been killed so far in clashes between security forces and protesters. The opposition in Bahrain wants political reform, which includes giving less powers to the ruling Al Khalifa family. James Bays looks at what may be next on the political horizon for Bahrain.
There are still thousands of people here at the Pearl Roundabout gathered. You can see them there. Many spent the night here, and they've got all the facilities to stay. You can see the food here being cut up for the crowd, water here, free electricity from the generators. Not just men here, but women and children who've come to spend time here to show that they're with this protest. A range of different views among the people here, some talking about a constitutional monarchy, reform of the constitution. Others go much further. They say they want the king and the government removed from this country. They say they're prepared to stay for as long as it takes until that happens.
A suicide blast in Afghanistan's Kunduz province has killed at least 28 people and wounded 32 others. The bomber detonated explosives at the entrance to a population registration office in the country's north. People were queuing for ID cards on Monday. Local officials say all the dead are civilians and they include children. Sue Turton's in Kandahar with the latest on the attack.
The suicide bomber managed to get into a Ministry of Interior building up in a district in Kunduz province in the north, where he detonated his vest, is believed to have killed as many as 30 people and injured as many as 60. Now, the government say that those killed were all civilians. They were Afghans waiting to collect their national identity cards. But the Taliban, who has claimed responsibility, says these were actually police recruits collecting their police identity cards, and that, they say, is a legitimate target. This is the 4th soft target to be hit by the Taliban in less than a month, and much of the time civilians are bearing the brunt of that violence.
The sole surviving gunman of the Mumbai attacks in 2008 is to face the death sentence. An Indian court upheld an earlier decision to execute him. Mohammad Ajmal Amir Kasab was found guilty of taking part in the assault, which left 166 people dead and injured more than 300 others. From New Delhi, our correspondent Prana Suri says Kasab still has some options left to overturn the sentence.
It is going to take some more time before the death sentence against Mohammad Ajmal Kasab can be carried out, because under the Indian law, anybody who's been given the death sentence can take his or her appeal to the Supreme Court. That's the highest court